When I started sports betting, I just left college, so I was basically broke. I didn't have a ton of money, and I was terrified of losing. So I really wanted to make money sports betting and give it a try, but I also was very risk averse. So I started to research online for what are low risk sports betting strategies. What are ways that I can actually make money month after month, grow my bankroll, but in a safe way. And I ended up stumbling upon 3 sports betting strategies that I started to use. These are the first strategies that I used in my sports betting, in my sharp gambling journey. And at this point, these strategies have made me probably over $300,000 in profit. It's hard to get an exact number because nowadays I use a ton of different betting strategies in so many different sports books. But the point of this video is to go through what are low risk betting strategies, what are ways that you can actually grow your bankroll in a low risk or a completely risk-free way. So without further ado, let's get into the first strategy I absolutely love. I've been using it for like 6 years now, and it's called middle betting. Middle betting is best for the NBA and the NFL. So a middle is essentially all books set their own unique lines, and 98% of the time, these books all have the exact same line. However, sometimes they'll get out of sync, especially when books first drop lines or after lineup or injury news. Books will get out of sync and there will be line discrepancies, and that's when you can middle bet. So I'll give you an example of a middle I locked in. I gave this play out on Twitter 100% for free. Is I took Jackson Smith on Fliff over 70.5 receiving yards. On FanDuel, his line was 11 yards higher at 81.5. I bet his under. So why is this a low risk strategy? Well, I'm always gonna win one of these 2 bets. I'm gonna win my over 70.5 on Fliff or my under 81.5 on FanDuel. So I'm always going to win at least one of these plays, but I also have an 11-yard gap where I could win both bets. So what I'm rooting for the entire game is for Jackson Smith to have 71 to 81 receiving yards, because then I'm gonna cash both plays. So I always call middles the low-risk lottery tickets of sports betting, because you're rooting on, a kind of niche outcome. And that actually hit, right? He had 79 receiving yards. You have to remember his line is centered around 75 yards. He almost certainly isn't going to have 10 receiving yards. He's also not going to have 400 receiving yards. So the probability that he falls within, 71 to 81 is actually a pretty high percentage. So I love middle betting. It's a low risk strategy. It's not completely risk free, because in this example, I'm paying the juice, right? I'm always going to win at least one of these bets, but let's just say he had a horrible game. He only had 40 receiving yards. I'm still going to lose a little bit of money because of the VIG, the market maker spread, or the house edge that these books bake into their market. However, that's not always the case. So I'll give you an example of an NBA middle that an OddsJam user hit. You can see it right here. So basically, he was able to get on one sports book. This was a live betting opportunity, so he bet this while the game was going on. On one book, he was able to get Cade Cunningham over 9.5 assists at plus 115. On another book, he was able to get his under 10.5. So a 1 assist discrepancy. He was able to get his under 10.5 assists at plus 117. So he's always going to make money. I mean, you can imagine if he bet $100 on both plays, he bet a little less. But if he bet $100 on both plays, if Cade has exactly 10 assists, you can see the math on the screen here. Obviously, Cade having exactly 10 assists is the optimal outcome, because then he's going to win both plays, the under 10.5 and the over 9.5. However, let's say Cade has 20 assists. He goes way over. Well, on the first book, he's going to make 115 profit. He bet the over 9.5 at plus 115. On the second book, he's going to lose $100, so he's up 15. Now, on the other hand, let's say Cade has a horrible game and he finishes with 6 assists, which maybe isn't a horrible game. Maybe he did a bunch of scoring, but you get the point. In that case, he's going to make $17. He's going to lose 100 on the over. He's going to make 117 on the under. So regardless of what happens, this is actually a risk-free middle. He's never going to lose money. He still wants a very unique outcome, which is Cade to have exactly 10 assists, but he's making money regardless of the result. So I love middle betting. It's how I started gambling. And the second strategy I'm going to discuss is actually completely risk-free, and it's very similar to middle betting. So it's called arbitrage. So arbitrage is an amazing strategy. It's actually a financial term. So I learned the term arbitrage while I was a quantitative trader on Wall Street. And basically all arbitrage means is when you can buy and sell something two different places and guarantee a risk-free profit simultaneously. So in financial markets, especially when crypto markets were new, maybe you could buy Bitcoin at $50,000 in the US, sell it at $51,000 on some Korean exchange, and make that $1,000 risk-free profit. That's obviously a very simple example. I can almost guarantee you that big of arbitrage opportunities did not exist in crypto, maybe just in the very early days. But it is very similar in sports betting. Arbitrage is just when two books have such different prices that you can play equal and opposite outcomes and guarantee a profit. And one thing I wanted to mention is betting exchanges like ProfitX and Novig are amazing for arbitrage because they have no max betting limits, right? Like ProfitX and Novig are peer-to-peer sites, and sometimes ProfitX and Novig get so out of sync that you can just slam massive arbitrage plays. But because these sites are peer-to-peer, they have no limits, which means you can oftentimes place really big arbitrage bets. So this guy, Arbitron, it's like every single day on Twitter, I see him hitting an arbitrage bet between ProfitX and Novig for over $100 guaranteed profit. It's absolutely insane. So a couple pro tips for arbitrage betting is first and most importantly, you're gonna want to use as many sports books as possible. We never know which books are gonna get super out of sync with one another. Sometimes it's DraftKings and FanDuel, other times maybe it's Fliff and Rebet. We never know which books are going to have the best arbitrage bets on a given day, so the more books you use, the better. I've used over 100 books since I started gambling, and I highly recommend you sign up for all the sports books in your state. Most of them have lucrative deposit matches, stuff like that when you first sign up anyways, so there's a lucrative reward just for signing up. But for example, here you can see an arbitrage bet between Props Builder and DraftKings that Billy Collins hit. He got plus money on Harrison Barnes, his over and his under. If you're getting plus money on a player's over and his under, this was a live arbitrage bet, a lot of times live during the game. That's when there's the biggest discrepancies. Sportsbooks can barely manage their odds pre-match, so live while the game is going on, oftentimes you can catch massive arbitrage bets. So you can see the math on the screen for this arbitrage bet from Billy. On the other hand, here's a pre-match arbitrage bet that I locked in. Typically pre-match bets, like money lines, mainline markets, those betting opportunities, you actually have the highest limits. So this arbitrage opportunity, I played it on a live stream, so I gave it out completely for free. It was on an NFL money line, Lions-Vikings, between Rebet and Novig. Novig is a no-limit betting exchange. You'll never get limited. You'll never have a max bet size or a betting reduction. So Novig, again, Novig and ProfitX are the two best books for arbitrage betting. So you can see I made over $70 risk-free, right? Like you can see the math on the screen here. And what's amazing about arbitrage betting is you're getting daily compounding, right? I placed this arbitrage bet on maybe Saturday, I forget, but right when the game ends, I'm getting back my stake plus a $70 profit. Right? You're not tying up money for long periods of time. So especially for these live arbitrage bets, you may place a live arbitrage bet for $50 profit, risk-free profit, and that game ends an hour later or 30 minutes later, and you have your money back plus a profit. Right? So your bankroll can grow very quickly if you are arbitrage betting consistently. So as an arbitrage bettor, use more sports books, try to lock in as many plays as possible every single day. More arbitrage plays that you lock in means more risk-free profit. I also highly recommend tuning into an Arb Thief training session. He's a professional sports bettor. He makes tons of money, and he gives back to the community. I mean, every single day, basically, he gives a live stream, finding arbitrage bets, explaining which sports books are most exploitable, the best times to find arbitrage bets, stuff like that. So invest in your sports betting education. It pays off big time. These Arb Thief trainings are super useful. I can't recommend them enough. The final risk-free betting strategy, and this is honestly what got me hooked on sports betting, is converting promos into risk-free profit. So that's how I started gambling. Is there are hundreds of sports books in the US. Every state has different books that are legal. And all of these books, you can see some examples here, all of these books run sign-up bonuses, right? They're all marketing against each other. FanDuel wants you on FanDuel. DraftKings wants you to sign up for DraftKings. Most people aren't like me. They're not going to sign up for 100 sports books. So these books run sign-up bonuses as a marketing cost. Sports books aren't stupid. They know that they make money off of 97% of their customers long-term. I think the industry average is a sports book makes approximately $2,000 in profit per customer on average per year. So these books will give away deposit matches, stuff like that when you first sign up. So I recommend watching this video. On YouTube, I've made a video about how I used to travel the US. At this point, I'm on basically every sports book, so there's not many sign-up bonuses left for me. But when I started gambling, I literally took a road trip across the US. I signed up for each sports book. Some books have deposit matches. Other books have insured bets. So if you lose your first bet, you get your money back. And I converted all of these promos into risk-free profit. Nearly all of these sign-up bonuses, you can hedge them to guarantee a risk-free profit. And I go through that in this video. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Arbitrage, middle betting, and sign-up bonus conversion, promo conversion. Those are 3 ways, very safe betting strategies that will generate profit week after week, month after month with arbitrage betting and promo conversion. You literally won't lose if you're doing it correctly. So give these strategies a try. Let me know how they work for you. And thank you guys so much for your time.